Welcome to the Titan Tar channel. Today we have a topic to discuss about Antonovka opening the doors to the siege of the Ukrainian forces. Don't miss the chance to join us and share your opinions with us by subscribing and liking to grow our community. Become a member of our channel and evolve your rank. The advanced forces of the Russian army managed to enter and consolidate themselves in the settlement of Antonovka, located in the Kurakhovo direction of Donetsk. Although small, this settlement allows a gradual advance to cover the Ukrainian group in Kurakhovo, which is essential for the defense of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Donetsk region. The situation of the Ukrainian group in Gornyak and Kurakhovka, however, continues to deteriorate rapidly. With the loss of Novoseladovka and the Russian advance towards the Kurakhovsko reservoir, there is a risk of a mini-cauldron forming northeast of Kurakhovo if Ukrainian forces do not retreat in time. The recent capture of the settlement of Izmailovka by Russian troops represents the breaking of one of the last Ukrainian lines of defense in the vicinity of the Kurakhovsky reservoir, supported by Voznesenka and Novoseladovka. Russian forces continue their advance in the western area of Gornyak, pushing Ukrainian troops into areas of greater risk, which signals an already established operational encirclement around Gornyak and Kurakhovka. The loss of this territory could result in a serious defeat for the Ukrainian forces present there. In this context, it is likely that Ukrainian troops will soon have to retreat from Gornyak and Kurakhovka, reorganizing behind the railway and trying to consolidate positions in Stary Turny to prevent a Russian breakthrough to the rear of Kurakhovo. With this series of conquests, Russian forces continue to expand their territorial control. Meanwhile, the West is closely monitoring the developments in the conflict in Ukraine and considering options for ending it. IMF analysts recently noted that the most intense phase of the conflict is likely to last until the end of 2025, warning that the coming months will be a particularly difficult test for Ukraine. At the same time, the commander of NATO troops in Europe, a U.S. general, said that the Russian army could emerge from this conflict stronger, having gained extensive combat experience. This growing experience of the Russian armed forces worries Western analysts, especially since Russia has demonstrated its ability to wear down Ukrainian reserves with localized operations. A recent example is the operation in the Kursk region, launched by Ukrainian forces in August. Initially, elite Ukrainian troops made a significant advance, but when they reinforced their position with brigades of mobilized troops, Russian forces counterattacked and stopped the advance, putting pressure on the Ukrainian command to assess to what extent it can continue to invest forces and resources in the region, given the arrival of winter and the simultaneous Russian offensives in Donbass. In this scenario, NATO leadership acknowledges that Ukraine has not made significant progress at Kursk, while Zelensky is stepping up calls to the United States and Brussels for additional brigades as Ukrainian forces are stretched thin. In response, Washington and Brussels have suggested measures such as lowering the minimum age for mobilization, which puts Zelensky's cabinet in a delicate position with few viable options. At the same time, Western media outlets are skeptical about Zelensky's victory plan. Several American publications point out that the outlook for Ukraine is looking increasingly bleak, with Washington aware of this reality and stepping up pressure for a negotiated settlement. However, the central question remains: transforming the rapidly deteriorating situation on the battlefield into an acceptable peace is a challenge that has not yet found a practical solution. An author of one of these publications points out that the central problem lies in the contradictions of U.S. policy towards the Ukrainian conflict. On the one hand, Washington wants a Ukrainian victory. On the other, it seeks to limit its own direct participation and military support for Kyiv, a paradoxical position that, according to the agency, has characterized the American approach since February 2022. Analyzing the situation on the battlefield, the publication notes that the conflict is increasingly tilted in favor of Russian forces, and Zelensky's recent offensive in the Kursk region did not bring the expected results for Kyiv. Although the Ukrainian invasion in the summer attracted attention, it did not significantly change the overall course of the fighting, the agency emphasizes. Meanwhile, the situation in Ukraine has become a focal point for the U.S. presidential candidates. Kamala and Donald Trump have been using the Ukraine issue to strengthen their electoral positions, often exchanging accusations about what policies could or should be adopted. At a campaign event, Vice President Kamala criticized Trump for his promise to resolve the conflict in a single day, arguing that Trump's approach would favor Russia. She said that if Trump were in power, he would force Ukraine to surrender and that Putin would be sitting in Kyiv. Kamala also took the opportunity to criticize Trump's record, accusing him of admiring authoritarian leaders, such as the president of North Korea and the president of Russia. She also mentioned that Trump had allegedly sent COVID-19 tests to the Russian president during the pandemic, at a time when Americans were having difficulty accessing such tests. The U.S. presidential election, scheduled for November 5th, pits Kamala, the current vice president, as the Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump, the representative of the Republicans. At a recent press conference following the BRICS summit in Russia, Vladimir Putin was asked about the Ukrainian conflict and possible peace negotiations. The Russian leader revealed that a representative of the Turkish president contacted Moscow from New York, indicating that Ukraine had approached Turkey to mediate communication with Russia. According to Putin, Moscow accepted the mediation proposal, but stressed that Kyiv must clearly define its interest in negotiating. He also commented that while Moscow sought to maintain an open dialogue, Kyiv continued to adopt a stance against negotiations, which hinders any concrete progress. During the same press conference, a Brazilian journalist asked Putin to rate, on a scale of 1 to 10, the viability of the peace plan proposed by China and Brazil to resolve the conflict. Putin responded that he could not provide a numerical assessment, justifying that the Ukrainian government has adopted an irrational stance, which makes any attempt at negotiation very uncertain and difficult to predict. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. Your interactions mean a lot to us and help us grow. See you next time.